Surfers represent a diverse culture based on riding the waves. Some people practice surfing as a recreational activity, while others make it the central focus of their lives. Surfing culture in the U.S. is most dominant in Hawaii and California, because these two states offer the best surfing conditions. However, waves can be found wherever there is coastline, and a tight-knit yet far-reaching subculture of surfers has emerged throughout America. Some historical markers of the culture included the woody, the station wagon used to carry surfers' boards, as well as board shorts, the long swim shorts typically worn while surfing. Surfers also wear wetsuits in colder regions and when the seasons cool the air and water. During the 1960s, as surfing caught on in California, its popularity spread through American pop culture. Several teen movies, starting with the Gidget series in 1959, transformed surfing into a dream life for American youth. Later movies, including Beach Party, 1963, Ride the Wild Surf, 1964, and Beach Blanket Bingo, 1965, promoted the California dream of sun and surf. Surf culture also fueled the early records of the Beach Boys. The sport is also a significant part of Australia's eastern coast subcultural life, especially in New South Wales, where the weather and water conditions are most favorable for surfing. The sport of surfing now represents a multi-billion-dollar industry, especially in clothing and fashion markets. Founded in 1964, the International Surfing Association is the oldest foundation associated with surfing formed to better improve surfing and recognized by the International Olympic Committee as the leading authority on surfing. National and international surf competitions began in 1964. In addition, the World Surf League was established in 1976 and promotes various championship tours, hosting top competitors in some of the best surf spots around the globe. A small number of people make a career out of surfing by receiving corporate sponsorships and performing for photographers and videographers in far-flung destinations. They are typically referred to as freesurfers. 66 surfers on a 13 meters long surfboard set a record in Huntington Beach, California for most people on a surfboard at one time. Dale Webster consecutively surfed for 14,641 days, making it his main life focus. When the waves were flat, surfers persevered with sidewalk surfing, which is now called skateboarding. Sidewalk surfing has a similar feel to surfing and requires only a paved road or sidewalk. To create the feel of the wave, surfers even sneaked into empty backyard swimming pools to ride in, known as pool skating. Eventually, surfing made its way to the slopes with the invention of the snurfer, later credited as the first snowboard. Many other board sports have been invented over the years, but all can trace their heritage back to surfing. Many surfers claim to have a spiritual connection with the ocean, describing surfing, the surfing experience, both in and out of the water, as a type of spiritual experience or religion. Surfing is a surface water sport in which an individual, a surfer, or two in tandem surfing, uses a board to ride on the forward section, or face, of a moving wave of water, which usually carries the surfer towards the shore. Waves suitable for surfing are primarily found on ocean shores, but can also be found in standing waves in the open ocean, in lakes, in rivers in the form of a tidal bore, or in wave pools. The term surfing refers to a person riding a wave using a board, regardless of the stance. There are several types of boards. The Mochi of Peru would often surf on reed craft, while the native peoples of the Pacific surfed waves on Alaya, Paipo, and other such watercraft. Ancient cultures often surfed on their belly and knees, while the modern-day definition of surfing most often refers to a surfer riding a wave standing on a surfboard. This is also referred to as stand-up surfing. Another prominent form of surfing is bodyboarding, where a surfer rides the wave on a bodyboard, either lying on their belly, drop knee, one foot and one knee on the board, or sometimes even standing up on a bodyboard. Other types of surfing include kneeboarding, surf matting, riding inflatable mats, and using foils. Body surfing, in which the wave is caught and ridden using the surfer's own body rather than a board, is very common and is considered by some surfers to be the purest form of surfing. The closest form of body surfing using a board is a handboard, which normally has one strap over it to fit on one hand. Three major subdivisions within stand-up surfing are stand-up paddling, longboarding and shortboarding, with several major differences including the board design and length, the riding style and the kind of wave that is ridden. In tow-in surfing, most often, but not exclusively, associated with big wave surfing, a motorized water vehicle such as a personal watercraft, tows the surfer into the wave front, helping the surfer match a large wave speed, which is generally a higher speed than a self-propelled surfer can produce. Surfing-related sports such as paddle boarding and sea kayaking that are self-propelled by hand paddles do not require waves, and other derivative sports such as kite surfing and windsurfing rely primarily on wind for power, yet all of these platforms may also be used to ride waves. Recently, with the use of V-drive boats, wakesurfing, in which one surfs on the wake of a boat, has emerged. As of 2013, the Guinness Book of World Records recognized a 23.8 meters wave ride by Garrett McNamara at Nazaré, Portugal as the largest wave ever surfed. During the winter season in the Northern Hemisphere, the north shore of Oahu, the third largest island of Hawaii, is known for having some of the best waves in the world. Surfers from around the world flock to beaches like Backdoor, Waimea Bay, and Pipeline. However, there are still many popular surf spots around the world. Tehapo'o, located off the coast of Tahiti. Mavericks, California, United States. Cloudbreak, Tavarua Island, Fiji. Superbank, Gold Coast, Australia. In 2016, surfing was added by the International Olympic Committee as an Olympic sport to begin at the 2020 Summer Olympics in Japan. The first gold medalists of the Tokyo 2020 surfing men and women's competitions were, respectively, the Brazilian Italo Ferreira and the American from Hawaii, Carissa Moore. About 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, cultures in ancient Peru fished in kayak-like watercraft mochica, made of reeds that the fishermen surfed back to shore. The Mochi culture used the Caballito de Totora, Little Horse of Totora, with archaeological evidence showing its use around 200 CE. In Polynesian culture, surfing was an important activity. Modern surfing as we know it today is thought to have originated in Hawaii. The history of surfing dates to c. AD 400 in Polynesia, where Polynesians began to make their way to the Hawaiian Islands from Tahiti and the Marquesas Islands. They brought many of their customs with them, including playing in the surf on paipo boards. It was in Hawaii that the art of standing and surfing upright on boards was invented. Various European explorers witnessed surfing in Polynesia. Surfing may have been observed by British explorers at Tahiti in 1767. Samuel Wallis and the crew members of HMS Dolphin were the first Britons to visit the island in June of that year. Another candidate is the botanist Joseph Banks, who was part of the first voyage of James Cook on HMS Endeavour, arriving on Tahiti on the 10th of April 1769. Lieutenant James King was the first person to write about the art of surfing on Hawaii, when he was completing the journals of Captain James Cook, upon Cook's death in 1779. In Herman Melville's 1849 novel Mardi, based on his experiences in Polynesia earlier that decade, the narrator describes the rare sport at Ohanu, title of chap. 90. For this sport, a surfboard is indispensable, some 5 feet in length, the width of a man's body, convex on both sides, highly polished, and rounded at the ends. It is held in high estimation, invariably oiled after use, and hung up conspicuously in the dwelling of the owner. When Mark Twain visited Hawaii in 1866, he wrote, "In one place, we came upon a large company of naked natives of both sexes and all ages, amusing themselves with the national pastime of surf bathing." References to surf riding on planks and single canoe hulls are also verified for pre-contact Samoa, where surfing was called fa'asea or seagalu, and Tonga, far predating the practice of surfing by Hawaiians and Eastern Polynesians by over 1,000 years. In July 1885, 3 teenage Hawaiian princes took a break from their boarding school, St. Matthew's Hall in San Mateo, and came to cool off in Santa Cruz, California. There, David Kawananakoa, Edward Keliiahonui and Jonah Kuhio Kalanianaul surfed the mouth of the San Lorenzo River on custom-shaped redwood boards, according to surf historians Kim Stoner and Jeff Dunn. In 1890, the pioneer in agricultural education John Wrightson reputedly became the first British surfer when instructed by 2 Hawaiian students at his college. George Freeth, 1883 to 1919, is often credited as being the father of modern surfing. He is thought to have been the first modern surfer. In 1907, the eclectic interests of the land baron Henry E. Huntington brought surfing to the California coast. While on vacation, Huntington had seen Hawaiian boys surfing the island waves. Looking for a way to entice visitors to the area of Redondo Beach, where he had heavily invested in real estate, he hired a young Hawaiian to ride surfboards. George Freeth decided to revive the art of surfing, but had little success with the huge 500 centimeters hardwood boards that were popular at that time. When he cut them in half to make them more manageable, he created the original, long board, which made him the talk of the islands. To the delight of visitors, Freeth exhibited his surfing skills twice a day in front of the Hotel Redondo. Another native Hawaiian, Duke Kahanamoku, spread surfing to both the US and Australia, riding the waves after displaying the swimming prowess that won him Olympic gold medals in 1912 and 1920. In 1975, a professional tour started. That year Margot Oberg became the first female professional surfer. Swell is generated when the wind blows consistently over a large space of open water, called the wind's fetch. The size of a swell is determined by the strength of the wind, and the length of its fetch and duration. Because of these factors, the surf tends to be larger and more prevalent on coastlines exposed to large expanses of ocean traversed by intense low-pressure systems. Local wind conditions affect wave quality since the surface of a wave can become choppy in blustery conditions. Ideal conditions include a light to moderate, offshore, wind, because it blows into the front of the wave, making it a barrel, or tube, wave. Waves are left-handed and right-handed depending upon the breaking formation of the wave. Waves are generally recognized by the surfaces over which they break. For example, there are beach breaks, reef breaks and point breaks. The most important influence on wave shape is the topography of the seabed directly behind and immediately beneath the breaking wave. Each break is different since each location's underwater topography is unique. At beach breaks, sandbanks change shape from week to week. Surf forecasting is aided by advances in information technology. Mathematical modeling graphically depicts the size and direction of swells around the globe. Swell regularity varies across the globe and throughout the year. During winter, heavy swells are generated in the mid-latitudes, when the north and south polar fronts shift toward the equator. The predominantly westerly winds generate swells that advance eastward, so waves tend to be largest on west coasts during winter months. However, an endless train of mid-latitude cyclones cause the isobars to become undulated, redirecting swells at regular intervals toward the tropics. East coasts also receive heavy winter swells when low-pressure cells form in the subtropics, where slow-moving highs inhibit their movement. These lows produce a shorter fetch than polar fronts, however, they can still generate heavy swells since their slower movement increases the duration of a particular wind direction. The variables of fetch and duration both influence how long wind acts over a wave as it travels, since a wave reaching the end of a fetch behaves as if the wind died. During summer, heavy swells are generated when cyclones form in the tropics. Tropical cyclones form over warm seas, so their occurrence is influenced by El Niño and La Niña cycles. Their movements are unpredictable. Surf travel and some surf camps offer surfers access to remote, tropical locations, where tradewinds ensure offshore conditions. Since winter swells are generated by mid-latitude cyclones, their regularity coincides with the passage of these lows. Swells arrive in pulses, each lasting for a couple of days, with a few days between each swell. The availability of free model data from the NOAA has allowed the creation of several surf forecasting websites. The value of good surf in attracting surf tourism has prompted the construction of artificial reefs and sandbars. Artificial surfing reefs can be built with durable sandbags or concrete, and resemble a submerged breakwater. These artificial reefs not only provide a surfing location, but also dissipate wave energy and shelter the coastline from erosion. Ships such as Selly 1 that have accidentally stranded on sandy bottoms, can create sandbanks that give rise to good waves. An artificial reef known as Chevron Reef was constructed in El Segundo, California in hopes of creating a new surfing area. However, the reef failed to produce any quality waves and was removed in 2008. In Kovalam, southwest India, an artificial reef has successfully provided the local community with a quality left-hander, stabilized coastal soil erosion, and provided good habitat for marine life. Osser Limited, a New Zealand-based company, constructed the Kovalam Reef and is working on another reef in Boscombe, England. Even with artificial reefs in place, a tourist's vacation time may coincide with a flat spell, when no waves are available. Completely artificial wave pools aim to solve that problem by controlling all the elements that go into creating perfect surf. However, there are only a handful of wave pools that can simulate good surfing waves, owing primarily to construction and operation costs and potential liability. Most wave pools generate waves that are too small and lack the power necessary to surf. The Sigaya Ocean Dome, located in Miyazaki, Japan, was an example of a surfable wave pool. Able to generate waves with up to 3 meters faces, the specialized pump held water in 20 vertical tanks positioned along the back edge of the pool. This allowed the waves to be directed as they approach the artificial sea floor. Lefts, rights, and frames could be directed from this pump design, providing for rippable surf and barrel rides. The Ocean Dome cost about $2 billion to build and was expensive to maintain. The Ocean Dome was closed in 2007. In England, construction is nearing completion on the Wave, situated near Bristol, which will enable people unable to get to the coast to enjoy the waves in a controlled environment, set in the heart of nature. There are two main types of artificial waves that exist today. One being artificial or stationary waves, which simulate a moving, breaking wave by pumping a layer of water against a smooth structure mimicking the shape of a breaking wave. Because of the velocity of the rushing water, the wave and the surfer can remain stationary while the water rushes by under the surfboard. Artificial waves of this kind provide the opportunity to try surfing and learn its basics in a moderately small and controlled environment near or far from locations with natural surf. Surfing, like all water sports, carries the inherent risk of drowning. Although the board assists a surfer in staying buoyant, it can become separated from the user. A leash, attached to the ankle or knee, can keep a board from being swept away, but does not keep a rider on the board or above water. In some cases, possibly including the drowning of professional surfer Mark Fu, a leash can even be a cause of drowning by snagging on a reef or other object and holding the surfer underwater. By keeping the surfboard close to the surfer during a wipeout, a leash also increases the chances that the board may strike the rider, which could knock him or her unconscious and lead to drowning. A fallen rider's board can become trapped in larger waves, and if the rider is attached by a leash, he or she can be dragged for long distances underwater. Surfers should be careful to remain in smaller surf until they have acquired the advanced skills and experience necessary to handle bigger waves and more challenging conditions. However, even world-class surfers have drowned in extremely challenging conditions. Under the wrong set of conditions, anything that a surfer's body can come in contact with is a potential hazard, including sandbars, rocks, small ice, reefs, surfboards, and other surfers. Collisions with these objects can sometimes cause injuries such as cuts and scrapes, and in rare instances, death. A large number of injuries, up to 66%, are caused by collision with a surfboard, nose, or fins. Fins can cause deep lacerations and cuts, as well as bruising. While these injuries can be minor, they can open the skin to infection from the sea. Groups like Surfers Against Sewage campaign for cleaner waters to reduce the risk of infections. Local bugs and diseases can be risk factors when surfing around the globe. Falling off a surfboard or colliding with others is commonly referred to as a wipeout. Sea life can sometimes cause injuries, Bethany Hamilton, and even fatalities. Animals such as sharks, stingrays, weaver fish, seals, and jellyfish can sometimes present a danger. Warmer water surfers often do the stingray shuffle as they walk out through the shallows, shuffling their feet in the sand to scare away stingrays that may be resting on the bottom. Rip currents are water channels that flow away from the shore. Under the wrong circumstances, these currents can endanger both experienced and inexperienced surfers. Since a rip current appears to be an area of flat water, tired or inexperienced swimmers or surfers may enter one and be carried out beyond the breaking waves. Although many rip currents are much smaller, the largest rip currents have a width of 12 to 15 meters. The flow of water moving out towards the sea in a rip will be stronger than most swimmers, making swimming back to shore difficult. However, by paddling parallel to the shore, a surfer can easily exit a rip current. Alternatively, some surfers actually ride on a rip current because it is a fast and effortless way to get out beyond the zone of breaking waves. The seabed can pose a risk for surfers. If a surfer falls while riding a wave, the wave tosses and tumbles the surfer around, often in a downwards direction. At reef breaks and beach breaks, surfers have been seriously injured and even killed, because of a violent collision with the seabed, the water above which can sometimes be very shallow, especially at beach breaks or reef breaks during low tide. Cyclops, Western Australia, for example, is one of the biggest and thickest reef breaks in the world, with waves measuring up to 10 meters high, but the reef below is only about 2 meters below the surface of the water. A January 2018 study by the University of Exeter called the Beach Bum Survey found surfers and bodyboarders to be 3 times as likely as non-surfers to harbor antibiotic-resistant E. coli and 4 times as likely to harbor other bacteria capable of easily becoming antibiotic-resistant. The researchers attributed this to the fact that surfers swallow roughly 10 times as much seawater as swimmers. Surfers sometimes use ear protection such as ear plugs to avoid surfer's ear inflammation of the ear or other damage. Surfer's ear is where the bone near the ear canal grows after repeated exposure to cold water, making the ear canal narrower. The narrowed canal makes it harder for water to drain from the ear. This can result in pain, infection, and sometimes ringing of the ear. Earplugs designed for surfers, swimmers, and other water athletes are primarily made to keep water out of the ear, thereby letting a protective pocket of air stay inside the ear canal. They can also block cold air, dirt, and bacteria. Many designs are made to let sound through, and either float and/or have a leash in case the plug accidentally gets bumped out. Surf rash appears in many different ways on the skin, commonly as a painful red bumpy patch located on the surfer's chest or inner legs. A rash guard will lessen the incidence of surf rash caused by abrasion or sunburn. Healing ointments such as petroleum jelly can be used to treat irritated skin. Surfer's myelopathy is a rare spinal cord injury causing paralysis of the lower extremities, caused by hyperextension of the back. This is due to one of the main blood vessels of the spine becoming kinked, depriving the spinal cord of oxygen. In some cases, the paralysis is permanent. Although any activity where the back is arched can cause this condition, i.e., yoga, Pilates, etc., this rare phenomenon has most often been seen in those surfing for the first time. According to DPT Sergio Florian, some recommendations for preventing myelopathy is proper warm-up, limiting the session length, and sitting on the board while waiting for waves, rather than lying. Many popular surfing destinations have surf schools and surf camps that offer lessons. Surf camps for beginners and intermediates are multi-day lessons that focus on surfing fundamentals. They are designed to take new surfers and help them become proficient riders. All-inclusive surf camps offer overnight accommodations, meals, lessons, and surfboards. Most surf lessons begin with instruction and a safety briefing on land, followed by instructors helping students into waves on longboards or softboards. The softboard is considered the ideal surfboard for learning, due to the fact it is safer, and has more paddling speed and stability than shorter boards. Funboards are also a popular shape for beginners as they combine the volume and stability of the longboard with the manageable size of a smaller surfboard. New and inexperienced surfers typically learn to catch waves on softboards around the 210 to 240 centimeters funboard size. Due to the softness of the surfboard, the chance of getting injured is substantially minimized. Typical surfing instruction is best performed one-on-one, but can also be done in a group setting. The most popular surf locations offer perfect surfing conditions for beginners, as well as challenging breaks for advanced students. The ideal conditions for learning would be small waves that crumble and break softly, as opposed to the steep, fast-peeling waves desired by more experienced surfers. When available, a sandy seabed is generally safer. Surfing can be broken into several skills: paddling strength, positioning to catch the wave, timing, and balance. Paddling out requires strength, but also the mastery of techniques to break through oncoming waves, duck diving, Eskimo roll also known as turtle. Takeoff positioning requires experience at predicting the wave set and where it will break. The surfer must pop up quickly as soon as the wave starts pushing the board forward. Preferred positioning on the wave is determined by experience at reading wave features, including where the wave is breaking. Balance plays a crucial role in standing on a surfboard. Thus, balance training exercises are good preparation. Practicing with a balance board, longboard, skateboard, or swing board helps novices master the art of surfing. The repetitive cycle of paddling, popping up, and balancing requires stamina and physical strength. Having a proper warm-up routine can help prevent injuries.